Hello everyone and welcome. This is the 50K Q&A. You guys submitted the questions. Actually about 52,000 subscribers now because I'm a little slow getting this out. But I want to cover a few things before I get to these questions. Number one is I had so many questions this time I'm having to divide this video up. So it'll be 2, maybe even 3 videos, but I have about 80 questions here. But if you don't have yours answered here, it's either going to be in the second video, or it's answered in one of my other bike talk videos, or I just didn't understand it. The first question is from Christian Dallas. Would you do a giveaway or sell any of your bikes to a subscriber? Well, I only sell bikes locally, but I have sold two subscribers that just so happen to be in my area. Actually 3 if you count one that I sold recently, the Raleigh Tocool. So yes, I do sell them. I don't do bike giveaways of my bikes just because it's too big of an ordeal to box them up and try to get them shipped out. Next up, Shaq Shedley. You've asked questions before. I appreciate the loyal viewing. What does the future hold for big box bikes? It's not the same old that it's always been for big box bikes. I happen to have a little bit of information and just a hint of a few things that are coming, so it should be pretty good. So hang on for that. Dave Shrivastov. Have you looked at the Huffy Scout? Yeah, I've looked at the Huffy Scout. Have I bought it yet? No. I was going to buy it late last year, but they sold out. The only reason I haven't bought it again, or tried to buy it again, is that it's kind of a small frame. Jason, with a Y, asks, are hydraulic brakes worth upgrading to? Good question, and let me talk about brakes for just a second. Because years ago, I used to have a bike with rim brakes when everyone else had mechanical discs. And they all looked down on my braking, but I didn't have a problem. Well, now we have kind of the same thing, people with hydraulics looking down on mechanical discs. There's nothing wrong with a good set of mechanical disc brakes. However, there's also nothing wrong with a good set of hydraulic disc brakes because they are better. And once you've ridden a bike with really good hydraulics, it's hard to go back. Or at least not view the mechanical discs as not being as good, but not as good doesn't mean they're bad. So are they worth upgrading to? In my opinion, yes, but not really required if you have good mechanical discs. Sloopy, Nathan Schmidt, Jonathan L, and Adam's channel all ask some variation of, can you do a bike check of all the current bikes that you have? Well, I think probably when you submitted your question, I hadn't done one yet, but I have a 50K bike check, so you should check that out. Check out the check. And that should answer your question. Adam Newlander, what did you do for work before YouTube? Well, I don't talk that much about my personal life, but I've done networking, I've done marketing, done quite a few things, so I'll leave it at that. Juan Carlos Alpizar asks, in a world full of YouTubers reviewing and covering... I wish I could do that movie guy voice. In a world full of YouTubers. I can't. Reviewing and covering the most expensive things. What motivated you to go the other way? Juan Carlos, are you calling me cheap? I think you're calling me cheap. It's probably okay because I'm kind of cheap. Economics. Economic necessity. Remember, necessity is the mother of invention. Deadmouse35675. Is that zip code? Most expensive big box bike I've owned, or he asked you've owned, and I guess I wrote I've owned. I think the Carbon X, because that was $399, now it's $448 or so. So I think that's the most expensive big box bike, at least out of the box. Killing Time, based purely on looks, what's the most stylish bike ever made? I'm going to amend your question. I'm going to make it, what's the most stylish bike that I have? And I think that would probably either be the IKEA Slada or maybe the Brilliant L-Train. Both are kind of stylish. The Slada won awards. The L-Train, stylishly cool. Bran Flakes 4547. 5 a.m. Bran Flakes would be pretty good about now. How does the Hyperhydroform hold up on the trail after all this time, and would you still recommend it? Common misconception, I don't recommend bikes. I just share my experiences and opinions and let you make up your own minds. But how is it holding up after all this time on the trail? Actually, pretty good. It's doing well so far. It's about to get really tortured, so we'll find out. But those nylon bushings haven't been a problem up to this point. Nick Sharp, well, what about the Schwinn aluminum comp? How's it holding up? Well, it's doing well as well. Sitting right there. but I haven't ridden it a lot, not since the last upgrades, because I'm about to do more upgrades on it. So hang tight for all those that want to see a project comp, because it's about to happen. Chucky Emmerich, can you do a sticker giveaway? Already have. If you send a self-addressed stamped envelope, it's in one of my previous videos at the end, so maybe you watch it and pick up a sticker of your own. Kind of underestimated the sticker wantage. I'm down to about 7 stickers and I'm still getting mail, so I'll have to order more. If you do send a self-addressed stamped envelope, then it may be a week or 2 before you get a sticker, just FYI. Overland Performance, can you do a review of the Raleigh Tow Cool 2? No, I'm not going to. I mean, I may in the future, I don't know, but right now I'm kind of mad at Raleigh because they messed up their entire mountain bike lineup and they're trying to trickle back some decent bikes like the Tow Cool 2. But for right now, I'm kind of on a moratorium of Raleigh. Squishy Boy asks, out of all the bikes you have, which one is the favorite or the least favorite? Well, favorite, I don't really have a favorite. I've covered that in another video because I like them all. I have some that I like better than others, but for the most part I like them all. Least favorite, Pacific Evolution, hands down. Still trying to find a good way to destroy that. Ibrahim Khalil, Nate, and Modern Films all ask some variation of, what made you first start making videos, and did you ever envision doing this full time? Just boredom made me start making videos. And did I ever envision doing this full time? Absolutely not, though I'm kind of glad to be doing it. Ed, you said I could call you Ed, but here's your name. If a subscriber sent you a bike, a big box one, or one custom built, would you review it? Yes, I would, but I've had people offer, especially a few people overseas, which gets to a question that'll be coming up. But I feel kind of guilty if someone would send me a bike that's a viewer or a subscriber, so I don't rule it out, but it's not something that I would feel super comfortable with. But yeah, I would. Foon Sood, Foonsood. What's your main bike that's not a big box bike, and where you get the money for the videos? Well, videos don't cost anything, so it's free to make them. Anybody can. What's the main bike that's not a big box bike? Well, I would say normally one of my priority bikes, but recently it's been that electric XP that's adding on a few pounds, so thanks electric. I think it's super fun. The QE or the QE, not sure how to say this one, but thoughts on carbon components? I mean, carbon components like this? Okay, I'm going to go on another thing, kind of like I did with mechanical disc brakes, but I'm going to talk about carbon. First off, there's nothing wrong with alloy or aluminum or even steel, but carbon you have to be careful with, especially these days, because there's a lot of people that sell on AliExpress or sell on Wish or on eBay, or even now I'm starting to see them on Amazon, that are fake bars, like these race-based fake bars. I won't use stuff like this. There's a limit because carbon can be dangerous, especially if it's plastic that's disguised as carbon. So high-end carbon, pretty awesome. Low-end carbon, not so much. Hubstead or Hoobstead says, I have an older Aggressor Pro 2.0 model with 26-inch tires, and it clears 27.5-inch tires. I'm going to paraphrase here and say, should it do it? Well, I can't give you the answer to that, but I will say be careful because the geometry can change quite a bit, going from 26 to 27.5, and that could present a problem, but I have done it before with like the Carbon X, but I'm pretty convinced that that bike was made to have 27.5 to begin with, and they downscaled it to cheap out. But I don't know, be careful. Vinsanity, how old were you when you first learned to ride a bike? I don't remember. I just remember starting to ride. I do remember taking training wheels off, but I don't know how old I was. But pretty young. Twirly Shrimp 64. Why don't you do BMX bikes? Well, just not a BMX bike guy. There's just styles that don't fit. Plus, as an adult, I feel kind of funny because, you know, people talk about when I'm on some 26-inch wheel bikes, oh, that looks too small for you. Well, BMX bikes look really small, and that seems to be fine with everyone, but just not my thing. Dead Man. Ooh, hope you're around to hear this. What's a good non-big box beginner mountain bike? This is a good question and a chance for me to get back up on a soapbox. Well, I can't go higher, or I would. But let me say here that there seems to be some confusion. People think that I say you should buy a big box bike and upgrade it. That's not at all what I say. If you can afford a local bike shop bike, then that's always a really good option because they have some good products. But the fact is, most people start out on a big box bike or want to dip their toe into the water with a cheaper bike, and I've seen people upgrade those, and that's what I do. But if you have the money to go to to a local bike shop, then that's usually a really good safe option and something that, I don't recommend things, but I recommend your local bike shop if you have a good one, if you can afford it. Now, if you don't, big box bikes. Okay, so to answer your question, long way around this, a good non-big box beginner mountain bike, any local bike shop that fits you and you feel good on. So there you have it. Ben Friedman, how necessary is a lockout on a bike that will be used both on and off the trail? For me, not very. I don't use it much. The only time that I have used it on the trail, I forgot to turn it back off when I turned it on and then figure out when I'm going over some. Mechanic, are you going to upgrade the Hypercarbon X and with what parts? Mechanic? Nick, I'm assuming. Check out my Project Hydro video series. I've done quite a few upgrades to the Hypercarbon X. Kevin Malone, I'm a big Office fan, so I like that name. What's the best value for an aggressive hardtail with a 1x11 and hydraulic brakes? Shop your local bike shop for a bike with those specs. Dylan Rides, Tyler Keenan, and I think a few other people that I forgot to write down asked some variant of all the budget bike builds, which one would you keep? For me, Carbon X. I really like that build. Turned out well, and it's going to get better. Justin Park. Now this is a good one. Justin asks, I have a star on this one because it's such a good question. What are some good budget suspension forks? I get asked this all the time. And let me say that if you start out with a fork, I don't know if you can see this, but with a fork like on the Schwinn aluminum comp or even lower, or any of the $200 and below and $250 and below-ish bikes that you get from a big box store, really any upgrade is a good upgrade. Because you could go from something like this to a Suntour XCM, and that's an upgrade. But is it a good fork? Some people think not. It depends upon what you do. But really, if you're going to sink money into an upgrade, I would look at RockShox or one of the higher end Suntours, like in a Pixon, something like that. That's if it were me. Beetle Buns. What accessories do you consider essential to ride, and what would you feel lost without? Well, I'd feel lost without a helmet, because I ride with those, and I'll take off without one and just feel funny. Essential to ride with, gloves. I like gloves, even if I'm on the road or even on an e-bike, I still like to wear gloves. Connor Uteg, what do you think of WTB saddles? I'm not a fan of WTB saddles. I've mentioned this before and people always comment about it. I know they make great saddles. My Priority 600 has a really good WTB saddle, but I also have a lot of big box bikes with licensed WTB saddles, and there's a big difference between a licensed product and the actual brand's products. So I think they've kind of cheapened their brand a bit, but I know they do make some good saddles. And what do I recommend for a long ride? Whatever your bum is happy with. Liam Gorham asks two questions that are really good. Why do you ride Walmart bikes more than your Cannondale? And also, do most people in your town ride Walmart bikes? I'll answer that one first. Yes. By a large margin, more big box bikes in my town than anything else. And why do I ride Walmart bikes more than my Cannondale? Well, because that's what I do on this channel. And also that Cannondale, two things about it. Number one, I should have bought a medium. I have a large and it doesn't fit me perfectly. And number two, I feel guilty whenever I'm riding it and it gets a mark on it. It's an expensive bike. Hunter Gibson, that's Gibson with a P. Which Trek Marlin is best for the money? Best for the beginning mountain biker? Here's the thing about the Marlin. Some of the lower end Marlins aren't really priced that well. But the Marlin 6 and the Marlin 7 are pretty good bikes. And the Marlin 5 is even a good bike, and I guess technically so probably is the 4. I mean, they're quality bikes. But for the money, I wouldn't look at the 4. I would look at least the 5. And if you can, get to the 6 or the 7, which make really good beginner mountain bikes. Hanji Lee, can you do an upgrade video on the Raleigh Tocool 1? No, because I sold it. Daniel Corica and Eddie R. both asks, do you ever go to trails outside of your local ones or travel to ride? Well, yes, I travel to ride every now and then. I have a few videos where I went to different trails, but I have two good trails locally. Wildwood and one we call Shoals Creek Preserve, or Shoal Creek Preserve if someone says it properly. But this was the local paper this past week. I don't know if you can read. Work begins on 8-mile long trail, and this is a new 8-mile mountain bike and hiking trail that they're going to have at Joe Wheeler State Park. So we'll have 3 trails soon. Can't wait. Silky Smooth 8976. Should I do a Project Hydro or similar? Again, you know, I don't say do as I do. I just do it for the entertainment and kind of infotainment value so that I can have fun and share my projects. Do I like my Project Hydro build? Absolutely, but I don't recommend anyone do what I do, especially those of you that keep emailing me or messaging me that say, I want to buy Project Hydro and I'm going to spend $600 or $700. Are these components okay? If you have the money to do all of that out of the gate, don't do it. Go to a local bike shop or shop online and get a bike already complete. That would be my opinion. Because Project Hydro is a build or ride as you go platform for me. And I did that over, what, 8 months? Something like that, 8, 9 months, maybe close to a year now. Ben the Vlogger. Countries to visit and buy a bike. I don't know why I wrote this down because this is one that confused me. I don't know exactly what you're asking. Maybe you're talking about bike tourism, someplace to go and buy a bike, but to me, any country you visit and you can afford to buy a bike and ride around in, it's probably pretty fun. So, Junk RC, what was your last bad crash? The one that messed up my shoulder? That's still as high as I can get it. You could hear it popping. But yeah, it was a lame crash. I was going onto the trail. Didn't even go over the bars. Just kind of fell backwards into a log. Kind of stupid. Nicholas Economist. Good name. Do you have an REI where you live? Sadly, no. Sad face. Gnarly mountain bike rider. How tall are you and do you have any friends? Well, I'm 5'10", and I guess apparently not you if you're trying to be cocky with that. Gnarly mountain bike rider. Bikes with Cabelas. Can you show us the process of making a video, or at least my process of making a video, camera gear, software editing, etc.? Yes, that will be coming up kind of indirectly in a video where I'm ranting a little bit about GoPro. Alex Nexer or Nexar. What's the best plan in your opinion to justify and pay for a truly expensive mountain bike like that sweet Carbon Canada you have? Well, thank you very much. Look, there are two different types of justification. There's needs justification and there's wants justification. And most of the time with mountain biking, we all fall in this wants category. So really, it's how much you can talk yourself into something if you don't need it. And paying for it, same thing. It's how much you're willing to sacrifice something else to get something that you really want. Orny asks, do you race? Nope. Saber-tooth biking. I get this question in some various form here and there. What do you do with the bikes after you review them? Do you return them or are they collecting dust? Look, I don't return a bike unless there's something wrong with it because it's just not cool. Collecting dust, I have a few that are collecting dust, and that's, you know, I have about 30 bikes now, almost 31 because there's one on the way. And some of them are collecting dust. They're bikes that I haven't ridden in quite some time, and that's why I'm going to be selling about 10 of them soon. Lightning Gaming 34346. Why don't you do Target bikes or bikes other than just from Dick's Sporting Goods or Walmart? Well, I do. Matter of fact, that Max BMX bike that I just reviewed was from from Target. But I have done Amazon bikes. I've done bikes from online merchants, along with Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart. But the reality is that most Target bikes are from Pacific Cycle or Kent, and they're just rebadges of a similar bike that's available at Walmart. But you'll probably see some Target bikes, or more of them, in the future. Pick up the pace. It's getting hot under these lights. Fathering Autism, respect. Any bikes you regret buying? Yes, the Pacific Evolution. I like that bike. Big Mar, can you do a review of the Gravity entry-level mountain bike? I've actually been looking at the Gravity FX and a few other Gravity bikes, but just can't justify pulling the trigger. You know, I would have thought that Bikes Direct would have contacted me by now because they sell some of the Gravity branded bikes, but I guess they're not going to. But at some point, hopefully, you'll see a Gravity bike here on KevCentral. Mr. Tubular asks, what got you so into bikes that you created a channel over it? Well, the channel just kind of evolved into a biking channel. Didn't start out that way. It just happened, and I've always liked bikes, so it just worked out. Canadian mountain bike. Would you consider purchasing a cheap downhill bike? I don't have any downhill trails, so I don't think about downhill bikes a lot, but I don't rule out anything that's cheap. Lazo Marsh asks, what's it like to live in Alabama, hot and humid? He also asks, how much do you guys know about Canada? Well, I know quite a bit about Canada. I did 2 college programs in Quebec, but the average Alabamian, probably not enough. 49th in education. That's out of 50. Not good. Ryan Tierney asks a really good question. How about a video about how to assemble a big box bike? Funny you ask that, because the last 3 big box bikes that I unboxed, I intended on doing a how to assemble it video, but I got carried away, and next thing I knew I was out riding it. Mexican Predator. Do you ever plan to go to any downhill parks? Don't have any downhill bikes, so I don't have any current plans, but I don't rule anything out. Eddie Salazar asks, do you still have the Aggressor GT Pro? No, sold it, but a relative has it. He's still riding it. Subi Chris or Subby Chris, what's the next budget build? And I love what you did with the Hyper build. Well, thank you very much. The next budget build is probably gonna be Project Comp. Zowtech, what's your current commuter bike? Historically, my priority bikes, but recently the electric XP is the bike I've been riding everywhere. PGH mountain bike. Will you ever get a good bike and put bad parts on it? Why would I do that? I get asked this regularly, and I don't get it. Is that something that I'm missing out on? Robert Caudell, what bike review is your favorite, and which got you the most following? Those are good questions. My favorite, probably the Carbon X series. I enjoyed every step of that. Was thrilled with that bike. And what got me the most following? Probably a mix of Project XR and the Carbon X series. BW2868. Best big box bike for an e-bike conversion kit. Worst dude in the world to ask that question. Never done an e-bike conversion kit. Don't really plan on one, though I have kind of been eyeballing a little bit. Not much, but just a little bit, that Mongoose Malice, because a fat tire bike, e-bike, that sounds kind of fun. Lucas Bailey Zrobach, or Zrobach. What's the best and worst bike you've ridden out of the box? Worst was probably the Huffy, I think it's called the Rock Creek. It's all warped up out of the box. The best is one that I have coming up. It's a big box e-bike, well, bike from Walmart, an e-bike from Walmart, and it was perfect. I put the wheels on it and took off. It's getting low, so I'm gonna have to knock these out quick. Speedy V, do you ever see yourself building a bike from parts? I'm not a build-up from parts kind of guy. I mean, maybe, but I'd have to be some frame that I found that I really liked. Joe CNMD, Chinese bike build. I assume you're asking about parts from somewhere like AliExpress, building a bike from scratch that way. Wouldn't rule it out. I don't like buying stuff from AliExpress personally, but I wouldn't rule out at some point maybe Chinese part bike build, but technically that's every bike these days, just about. Ryan Litzinger, what do you think about 10 to 12-year-old full suspension bikes? I have that 2006 Caudell Rush 3000 Lefty. I love it. So that's what, 16 years old, something like that. So no problems. Ray Macco, what is the first bike you ever rode? Did you ever stop riding? Yes, there was a point where I stopped riding. When you get a car, I didn't ride for a few years, and then there was another gap. I got a mountain bike and then didn't ride again for a few years. So yeah, I've had a couple of gaps. But first bike I ever rode, I don't remember. I remember my kid's bike. I had a Huffy. I think I even had an old hand-me-down Murray. So some bikes from when I was a kid there. Edito Castigata. Any difference in how different materials feel? Example, carbon frames versus alloy, or bars, carbon versus alloy. Yes, for good carbon, it's clearly a way different feel. I can tell that on my Caudell Trigger 3. Big Smoke, best budget part. Recently, I've been digging those IXF cranksets. I'll put a link in the description to any of these parts that I mentioned. But those are good budget parts, in my opinion, especially get to go to one buy. So I like those. Jeremy Vigue, V-I-G-U-E. Dick's Sporting Goods or Sports Authority, and why? I'll say Dick's Sporting Goods because I don't have a Sports Authority. Gamer Central. What's your opinion on the Genesis Big Easy? Will it work as a beginner mountain bike? I had to look that up. I wasn't familiar with this model and I couldn't find anyone that had it in stock, but wasn't that impressed because it had a front disc brake and a rear rim brake, and I don't like that. Cenosis. If you ever had the opportunity to ride another Canada, well, I hope I do get the opportunity, what would it be in what category? Well, it would be an e-bike, and it would be that Moterra Neo 1. That is a nice looking bike, and I would love to ride one. Hint, Cannondale. War Mountain. Can you do more upgrades on bikes? Well, yes I can, and I will. Even soon. See Project Comp. So I spent all this money on a new microphone setup, this boom mic hanging off the top of my stand. Didn't even have it plugged up, so I hope you can hear any of this. And does this sound different? Because I just plugged it up. So comment below and let me know if this sounds different. But I want to end with a question from Zach Clark. He asks, have you ever considered trying to start your own bike brand? You know, I looked at that and quickly unlooked at that because of everything that was involved. But I will say, I do have something that I'm working on that I hope will yield results within about the next year. And it's a KevCentral approved package or build parameters that a bike manufacturer can sign on to and get a KevCentral approved version of a bike that hopefully we could all like and enjoy at big box budget pricing. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks so much to everyone for subscribing, for watching these videos. 52,000 subscribers and growing. Hopefully we'll get to 100,000 soon. Thanks so much to everyone. Have a great day. Okay, I'm not done just yet, because I have patrons and I want to show my patrons some love. And on Patreon, my patrons got to ask their own questions, and I want to make sure that I get some of those featured here. So I have 8. Let me kick off with Hazmat. Hazmat asked about info on my local trails, the ones that I usually ride, and he wants to know if I can do some footage to provide some context. Something that give you an idea of what the bikes that I ride are being challenged by. Well, yes I can, and I've been planning that for quite some time, but here's the thing. I don't care how big or hard a trail is, it's really hard to show what it's actually like on camera. Case in point, Seth. Seth did a video and he mentioned how there was like this 6-foot drop, but it looks like it's a foot when he's editing it on video, and that is so true. I've ridden over stuff and thought, oh, that's amazing. Went back, set up my cameras, rode over it, thought, oh, this is going to be some epic footage. Got it home and it looks like I'm riding over sticks in a driveway. It's just horrible how hard it is to convey what rough terrain is like on film or on camera. But I'll try. Plan on doing that. I have the 2 trails and soon the 3rd one. So I'd like to do separate videos where I just ride every part of those trails and let everyone see what every bit of them is like. So yeah, stay tuned for that, and thanks for the question, Hazmat. Michael M. asked if I'm going to review any Chinese carbon mountain bike frames to see if they're worth purchasing. I kind of talked about that earlier, and Chinese carbon and how there are brands that I trust or I want things that have been proven. So I don't have any current plans, but I don't rule anything out. But again, it would have to be something that I had some trust in, especially when it comes to carbon. And by the way, I'm not convinced that carbon in 10 years is even going to be the frame material we're still using. I know aluminum will still probably be around, aluminum alloy, but you know, there's graphene, things like that, so hopefully we'll have something even better. Oh, you also asked if I'm planning on selling KevCentral stickers. Yes, I am. I'm working on getting some new sticker designs. I want to have 5 or 6 that people can have a choice from, and I hope to have them available on my website. I'm working on a website redesign so I can put some more info on there. So hopefully that'll be part of that. Carlos R. Carlos asks, what does your family think of you collecting so many bikes? I'm pretty sure they all gave up on me a long time ago, so no problems there. Cold Guy, you asked, do you have any recommendations for people of larger weight who want to ride bikes? Any brands or suggestions? Yes. Actually, info. Let me backtrack onto big box bikes, because most big box brands they have lower weight limits. And by low, I mean like 250 pounds. Pacific Cycle, so that Schwinn, Mongoose, Roadmaster, all the Pacific Cycle brands have a 250 pound tested weight limit. Now that doesn't mean they can't do more, but that's what they're tested to. And I'm pretty sure Kent is about the same. And that's going to cover most of the big box bikes that you'll see in Target, Walmart, any shops like that or any stores like that. So that being said, my suggestion would be if someone weighs 275 or 300 or more, especially in the 300 or more range, might not want to start looking at a big box bike. Maybe that's a point where you head down to a local bike shop and invest a little extra money into something that's rated to handle the weight. Because I would think that the worst thing that could happen would be that someone gets on a bike, they're wanting to get in shape or wanting to lose weight or even just have fun, and the bike breaks because of the weight. That could be demoralizing and get them back off the bike, and we don't want that to happen. So like a Trek bike, I think those are rated to 300 or some are 330 pounds. So seek out some brands like that, something that's rated to handle the weight, so someone doesn't get demoralized. Samuel J. asks, what are your favorite bike brands and parts brands? Well, I don't really have any favorite parts brands. I do have brands that I like Race Face, especially with the Chester and things like that, but I'm not loyal when it comes to parts because I'll use what works and what's the most affordable. And luckily on parts, there's a lot of good competition there, so there's some good non-brand name stuff that I'm finding to be quite good. So that's a plus. But bike brands, obviously Trek and Cannondale. Always like Cannondale and Trek. I have a history with Trek. That was my first real mountain bike, so I like those brands. But there are also newer brands like Priority. Raleigh, not so much a new brand, but I like Raleigh bikes again. I'm not happy with what they've done with their mountain bike lineup, but Raleigh's still a good brand. And then new up-and-coming brands, especially in the e-bike world, like Electric. Having so much fun on that bike. I'm hoping that company does a lot of good things because I'm enjoying their products so far. Mickey M. I know you've been supporting your local bike shop in videos. Did they ever take issue with you buying bikes from other sources? That's a really good question. I've seen others comment that their local bike shop looked down on them when they would bring something in or wouldn't work on a big box bike. If I had a bike and I'm offering to pay you to work on it and you don't want to work on it or refuse to work on it because it's not this brand or that brand, then I'm not going to do business at that shop. And I'm lucky, well, really lucky, because we only have one bike shop now. But my shop not only will work on anything, but they never look down on anyone. They've been very friendly and they've been very supportive to me and even worked me in a lot when I needed something done. I pretty much just call them, hey, I need to bring down a wheel to get it trued, and they'll work me right in. So I have a great local bike shop. It's called the Spinning Spoke. If you ever want to look it up, they're a Trek dealer. Roy C. Roy asks, do you intend on buying more from online brands like Pure, Raleigh, Volano, etc.? Yes. But as I mentioned earlier, I have to clear out about 10 bikes because I am out of room. But once I do, then I can go on another shopping spree and load up on more bikes, and then lather, rinse, repeat. Finally, there is Spectrum. Spectrum asks, what would you say is a realistic budget for a new bike to serve as an intro into mountain biking while still being upgradable? That's a good question, and I think I thought about this a while back. I think about $500 to $550 is a good base price for someone that actually wants to get on mountain bike trails. Now, obviously, at $500 to $550, you're not going to be doing big drops, but someone that's new, an intro into mountain biking, so you have to think about what the rider's going to be capable of as an intro rider. And I think $500 to $550 is a good price point for that. Even if it's someone that starts out with a big box bike that they're upgrading, it's still about the same price. Because by the time you put a new fork on, get new pedals, maybe new bars, you're at the $500 to $550 range. So that's where I think that would come in. So that's my patron questions. I really appreciate you guys, and again, I appreciate everyone. Let's get this channel up to hopefully 100K. Thanks so much to everyone for the 50 to 52K that we're at right now. Have a great day.